people is really the epitome of what we do. And I'm glad that I was given the opportunity to do that job.
Cái này mình đây Lien. Ừ. Ờ, như vậy cho nên tôi là lâu. Nhưng mà Mm.
Starting route to 27 Maple Bush Avenue. Proceed to the route, then turn right onto Union Road. Go past this light. Then at the next one, use the left lane to merge onto State Route 33 west toward I-90. Right? Use the left lane to turn left. About 11 kilometers. Exit left onto Oak Street. Stay in the left 2 lanes. Two kilometers. Exit left onto Oak Street. Use the left 2 lanes to exit left onto Oak Street. Exit left. (1.2 kilometers). Keep right to merge onto I-190 North toward Peace Bridge. to merge onto I-190 North toward Peace Bridge. At about 3 kilometers, take exit 9 toward Peace Bridge. In 2 kilometers, take exit 9 toward Peace Bridge. Use the right 2 lanes to take exit 9 toward Peace Bridge. Take the exit, then keep right toward Peace Bridge and Fort Erie, Canada. Keep right toward Peace Bridge and Fort Erie, Canada. Then continue on to Peace Bridge. Continue on to Peace Bridge. In 1.2 kilometers, keep right. Keep right. Lane closure ahead on Queen Elizabeth Way in 400 meters. You're still on the fastest route. For about 98 kilometers, continue straight.
最开始的这个波阿法比亚比。Này của Hồng Vi Phú đạt 3,7 triệu lượt xem. Video phun xăng này của Hồng Vi Phú đạt 5,5 triệu lượt xem. Video cắm hoa này của em gái Phú đạt 8,5 triệu lượt xem. Và kênh của Phú đạt 6,9 triệu lượt tiếp cận trong vòng 28 ngày. Và còn rất nhiều video triệu view. Đây là căn townhouse mình mua, mình closing hồi tháng 10. Thì hôm nay là chính thức bán ra, sold firm rồi. Ngày closing của căn này sẽ là tháng 4. Như vậy từ lúc mình closing mình mua tới lúc mình closing mình bán á, là trong vòng 6 tháng. Đây là một cái timeline mình thấy cũng hơi dài so với một căn townhouse. Thời gian sửa căn townhouse là gần 3 tháng. Hơi trễ, mình expect những căn này sửa chỉ tầm 2 tháng thôi. Rồi mình list lên thì sau tổng cộng
Anh Đức Lộ khuôn miệng méo một mình khiến cộng đồng mạng lo lắng. Anh Đức Lộ giới thiệu là bộ lát chân xếp dính chặt nhau, yên mặt chẳng há hé nửa chữ dù bị gài nhận xét trình diễn xuất của vợ.
Hay lắm mà anh ơi, dạ xuất sắc á, chứ không dám nói khác. Giờ em
Back with no doubt. Where do you live?
Toronto,
How long were you gone?
3 hours
What was the purpose?
driving my sister to the airport.
Okay. Did you travel? Did you go anywhere shop? Any alcohol or tobacco? Bye bye.
Thank you. Mm.
Working. And the phone rang. The person on the other end with a very strong accent but a very quiet voice said, "He's the lead investigator." Now, the moment he said, I first heard of Scandinav Ratnam 2 years ago. It was reported for months for Scanda. What happened to him definitely got inside my head. That said, he was from Switzerland. He told me he had my stomach is so nervous doing this. I hate being in front of a camera. This is worse than being in the hot seat in a court. I'm telling you, I just am not comfortable. Okay. We're good to crack on. When I joined the police service, I was 18. Anyone who has to call 911 is going to be in one of those worst moments of their life. And if I could be that police officer that comforts them for a moment, that's what I wanted to do. When I received that phone call from Bern, Switzerland, I was working in the village, the heart of the Toronto LGBTQ plus community. The detective had come across a website called Zambian Meat, a website about cannibalism. On the website, he started to speak to the member in Toronto. The username was ChefMate50. ChefMate50 told him that he'd kidnapped, murdered, and eaten a brown-skinned man from the village in Toronto somewhere between 2009 and 2011. The detective narrowed it down to possibly being Scandinavarak. My gut is saying, this is ridiculous. But then my head is saying, well, if there was, even in the remotest possibilities, a cannibal living in or around the city of Toronto, I had to investigate that. I start typing in ZAMBIAN meat. Right on the front page of the website was two men, and they were roasting a woman on a spit. I couldn't get my head around what I was actually seeing on the screen. I was shocked. I was absolutely taken back at the fact that these websites existed. I had to find out who ChefMate50 was. The username had an associated email address of chefmate50@yahoo.com. Later in the evening, after getting judicial authorizations, I was able to review some of the emails that were provided through Yahoo Canada. And as I started opening up like the second and the third and the fourth emails, my jaw was dropping. I had ChefMate50 sending emails to people all over the world, talking about how he wanted to torture them, how he wanted to eat them. I told Homicide, I need to see you. There's possibly a cannibal right here in Toronto. Next day, I walked in the room full of the Toronto Police Homicide Unit. There's this, aura around them. I'm in my, normal store-bought suit, and they all look so professional. They all have their cufflinks with their initials, and they all use the same tailor. I was anxious as to whether or not they would say, okay, you have enough to move forward in this investigation. But as they're going through the briefing package and they're seeing some of the content of some of the emails, you can see them slowly slinking down in their seats. And they went from these detectives who'd seen everything to the same feelings that I had, this overwhelming feeling of, is this really happening? I had a name for Yahoo Canada for the person depicting himself as ChefMate50. It was James Brunton. James Brunton was a family man who was married, who had a daughter. He lived in a very suburban neighborhood in Peterborough, Ontario, which is northeast of Toronto. And he had no criminal record. He worked at the local hockey arena. He also volunteered on a telephone hotline for people who were suicidal. And he seemed on the surface to be someone who was committed to his community. But there was no definition of what a cannibal should look like. Homicide determined that it would be good to have a team set up, and I was assigned as the lead investigator on what was called Project Houston. I was extremely excited at the fact that they've taken me seriously, but now I've got it worked in a way that I have never done before. First thing I had to determine was, are there any other missing men that I should be aware of and looking for? So I went to the Canadian National Missing Persons Database. I immediately identified a second person, Abdul Bazir Qazi, who'd gone missing in December 2010 from the gay village, just 3 months after Skanda. And I found a third missing person, Majid Kayan, missing from the gay village 2 years later in October of 2012. I'm looking and thinking, oh boy. I felt in my gut that it was the same person that was responsible for whatever happened to the 3 men, but without any bodies, I had no concrete evidence that there was a serial killer out there. I needed to see if there was any evidence linking James Brunton to the missing men. I needed an IT person who was tech savvy, who could create a profile and enter Zambian memes.
Never done it before. It's strange, but that's interesting. It's neat.
The first person I thought of was Charles Coffey.
So when you're a kid, you see all the exciting movies and the shows and the investigations are always like a puzzle. always loved that aspect of it and always dreamed about being a police officer. I received a phone call from Detective Harris, and she explained to me how Skanda, Faizi, and Kyan, 3 missing males, were possibly victims of cannibalism. It's a topic that you don't realize is real. And being asked to investigate such a topic, I was excited, but I was also disturbed, realizing that there was cannibalism out there. The next day, I was able to create an account and successfully became a member of Zambia Meat. There was people who were looking to be killed, slaughtered, as well as people who were performing the slaughtering. I was able to create a glossary defining the hierarchy. A long pig, which is a potential willing victim. A chef, which is considered a qualified cannibal. And a master chef, which is a qualified cannibal, to butcher and prepare meat. It's extremely surreal. I don't know how else to explain it. Brent had used the username ChefMate50, explaining that he was the real thing, that he has tasted and consumed human meat. He would go into great detail on how he had performed the slaughtering of human beings, descriptions on how to properly kill, cook, and store human flesh. It was very direct, very intricate, very knowledgeable.
I needed to get more information on James Brunton to prove if this man was dangerous or just a sick fantasist. We needed to get into his home and clone his computer so that we could forensically go through it. For weeks, we were trying to get in the house surreptitiously, and there was never an opportunity. Either James was there himself or his wife was there. Be working from 7 in the morning till 1 or 2 in the morning every day. I'd be setting up teams, going up doing surveillance. There was lots of 8 days where I just didn't get to see my daughter. When I was 28, Julie was born. Her and I were on our own from when she was 1 year old. I raised her as a single mother, and she's everything. When I came home, I would open her door and just quietly walk in. I just wanted to see her. I wanted to lie next to her. I would just take that deep breath in, and I would have that scent of her. And that scent was so calming for me. Julie and I would plan to do things, but as the investigation progressed, the more time I spent at work and the less time I spent with Julia. In December, I received judicial authorization to get all of Brenton's emails in real time. I saw an email about James going to visit his daughter with his wife down in the United States for Christmas. Finally, that was our opportunity to safely get into the house without being discovered and clone the computer. But this was going to be the first Christmas since the day that Julia was born that I wasn't going to spend with her. And it was just destroying me inside. I walked in the door and she was waiting for me. She can just pick up my demeanor right away. And she's like, "What's wrong?" And then I told her, "Honey, I'm not going to be able to be here tomorrow for Christmas. And I'm really, really sorry." I know I started crying. I kept feeling like I was disappointing her. leave my house 4 o'clock in the morning. I got about 4 hours sleep and up and out the door I went. I drove to the car park close to Brenton's house. We had our mobile support teams there. We had tech crime teams there. We had our locksmiths there. Emotionally, I was drained. You always have to put a game face on. I started handing copies out and saying Merry Christmas to everyone. Got a few Merry fucking Christmases back. They don't want to be there. You know, they want to be at home with their families. I stay out in the parking lot while the tech team sneak through the back lane and get in through the door. We didn't have warrants to search the entire home, so we started mirroring the hard drive from his computer onto an external drive. I was certainly hopeful that we were going to find something on the computer, because if it was just holiday snaps and innocent photos, I had ruined my Christmas day with my daughter for nothing. Comes to Michigan. Oh, you would something fine. Stay in the left 2 lanes.
It's all over here. Oh, most of the time. I don't think we're in a good taste.
Once the tech support team were able to clone the computer, that information was extracted and brought back to Charles.
There's hundreds of thousands of pieces of information, chats, emails, photos, videos, web searches. Went through Brenton's emails. I came across a conversation where he had described a cabin, 2.5 hours north of Toronto, large room, 3 chairs. He talked about having killed people in the back portion of the cabin. There was talk about a hoist to allow bodies to have their blood drained. It was almost shock and awe. Like, is this real?
This was big. We had a location where Brenton allegedly committed murder. We now had to determine, where is this cabin? We threw in a large map of the area up on the table, and we did a large circle 2.5 hours from Toronto. But it's hunting a needle in a haystack. You're talking hundreds of square miles. As I was looking at all of these possible areas, I thought back to Scanda's phone records. It showed that he'd made a call from the Bancroft area just 2 days before he went missing. Bancroft's a 2.5 hour drive from Toronto with a lot of dense woods surrounding it. This could be the place. We got police drones flying above the trees looking for any glimpse of where the cabin might be within that area of Bancroft. But the trees were so close together, it was difficult to get a good look at some of the cabins. We have to put boots on the ground, and we have to get people out there and try to find hard evidence that links Brenton to any of these missing men.
Debbie was saying we have to go find this cabin, and I was already kind of putting my hand up, but that's something I would totally be into doing.
Josh McKenzie had been my partner for 3 years.
Good.
Josh is a farm boy. He can survive in his snowshoes and tracing through the wilderness.
Debbie was one of the hardest working people I've ever worked with. an equal, allowing me to run cases on my own and give me experience and really help shape me as an investigator. I always liked the work outside of the office. I liked going out, finding things, figuring things out. I drove to Bancroft with another investigator. We got out of the car and started walking. It's very remote, it's trees everywhere. I saw one purple ribbon tied on a tree. Looked and saw the second one a couple of trees down. Somebody was trying to create a path leading somewhere more secluded. We took a few steps. A gunshot ricocheted through the trees and then suddenly stopped, and it was completely quiet. It's not hunting season. There's no reason why we should be hearing gunshots. I remember looking at my phone and we didn't have any cell phone service. I started thinking, oh man, should
Stay in the left 3 lanes.
or need help in any way. We couldn't do that. I was taking slower steps. When I saw the long beam suspended probably about 15 to 20 feet in the air that had hooks on it and ropes to a pulley system that you could raise to different heights and suspend really whatever you wanted on it. Behind the pulley system, there was a cabin. The other investigator and I really separated, making sure that we had all of our surroundings covered. I looked through the window. I saw a table and 3 chairs, just like the one that was described in Brunton's emails. There's a fire pit at the back of the building. And on top of that, there was a piece of an iron fence, like a massive grate for a barbecue. Near the fire pit, there was a number of boots and shoes just nailed to this tree. Some of those shoes had burn marks on the toes. My mind started spinning at that point. I found this spot where I was able to get 1 bar of cell phone service.
My phone rings and I pick it up and it's Josh. He's like, Deb, you're not going to believe this, but there are several pairs of boots and they're all just hanging from this tree. I knew what he was thinking and he knew what I was thinking as well. Were these mementos? Were these shoes from men who have now been cannibalized? I told Josh to gather the shoes so I could extrapolate some DNA to see whether they match any of the 3 missing men. A few days later, I was going through some of the emails that were on Brunton's computer. I could see that Josh McKenzie was getting up and walking towards me. The DNA from all of the shoes was negative for any of our missing men or anyone on the National Data Bank. We still didn't have any hard evidence to move forward in the investigation. Every time I spoke to a family member or a friend of one of the missing persons, they were wanting answers. I couldn't give them those answers, and that internally was constantly causing pressure. At work, work, I was very stoic. But the moment I got home, I wasn't as tolerant or as patient as I should be. Julia would just want to tell me something simple, about her day. And I would just block it out, or I wouldn't have the time to listen. And I would turn it into an argument. And in those moments, she would just say, "It's okay." And she would give me a hug, and I would just break down.
Spent the next couple of months through Brenton's computer for evidence. I'd wake up and during breakfast, I'd already be thinking about the case. It's some of the most disturbing material anyone will ever see. I couldn't talk to my wife about the investigation. She never really fully understood what I was going through. I'm not gonna bring my family into such a warped, horrific world. I discovered the series of emails in which Brenton was conversing with a young male. In these conversations, I uncovered a contract that was from October 2009. I, being of sound mind and body and fully understanding of all the consequences, do hereby enter into an agreement with a person known as Chef Mate from Zambia, hereafter known as Master. It is agreed that after my 18th birthday, I will enter into his hands and place myself in his full control.
After that, Master can have my body to butcher and eat as desired. Just absolutely disgusting. This boy is 1 year younger than my daughter. And this predator is preying on him. Just, yeah. How can any human being ever speak to somebody like that, let alone take advantage of someone who's only 15 years old? It makes me sick. Through help with our sexual exploitation unit, we traced the teenager's address to a home in Colorado. Thank God he was alive. He explained that he had no intentions on going through with the contract. But Brenton pressured the teenager to commit. And when the teenager refused, Brenton asked him to send pictures of him naked.
Child pornography is one of the most heinous crimes that a person can do. And I remember being angered by that. I was personally angered. That gave me thought to further investigate everything and see if there was any more evidence relating to that. I opened a file from 2003, May 1st. I started realizing I was looking at a video of inside a locker room of a hockey arena. On here and clothes, and Brenton was filming them while they were changing.
These boys that are in a hockey rink where they feel that they're safe and in a safe environment, and you have this predator in the change room taking advantage of their trust. This was child pornography and child exploitation, and I now had grounds for an arrest. But if I arrested Brenton right now, I may never get the evidence that I need to connect Brenton to the 3 missing men. It was killing me inside. And knowing what he was doing in the ice hockey arenas, time was no longer on our side. Our plan of action was to get an undercover officer to go onto Zambian meat, to pretend to be a long pig, someone who wants to give himself up and be eaten by a master chef. The moment the profile went live on Zambian meat, Chefmate 50 sent our profile an email asking to speak to him. Brenton told our undercover officer he wanted to take him to his cabin in the woods, where he promised to slaughter and then eat him. Our undercover officer agreed to everything that Brenton wanted and gave details of a flight he'd be taking into Toronto on the morning of May 11, 2013. It's like, we've got him, he's coming, we're going to get the answers we want. I'm so excited at this moment that all of this is now finally going to happen after all of these months of investigation. When it all comes together, it's being already not to the world. So it all excited because it will go to that for savings. On a takedown, everything was fine. Outside of the airport, I had hostage negotiators, I had SWAT teams on standby, and I had snipers up on the roofs in case the undercover officer was put in jeopardy while getting into the car with Brenton. We had mobile support teams out in Peterborough so that they could keep an eye on Brenton's home, and everyone was reporting back to myself over the radio so that at any given time I would know what was happening in all of these different locations. I was anxious and excited at the same time. Brenton drove out of his driveway. He went directly to the 115 highway. We had our mobile support teams following him. You got onto Highway 401, which is exactly the route you would need to do to get to the airport. And then all of a sudden, the mobile team tells us turned off the highway. And I'm thinking, why is he turning off the highway? What's going on? Brenton turned into a parking lot of a mall. So the mobile team followed behind him. They're letting me know Brenton's in the washroom. I'm thinking, okay, it was a pit stop. He's going to get back in his car and he's going to continue to the airport. I'm getting real-time information from the mobile team that Brenton is leaving the mall. He's passed the 401 West exit. He's now getting on the 401 East. Thinking, what? He's coming to the airport. He's got to go west, not east. What's happened? Did he spot the mobile team floor? Did he get cold feet? They follow Brenton right back to his house. He goes inside. And he doesn't come back out. I felt defeated. But we can't let him still stay out in the public when we know what he's doing in regards to child exploitation. and child pornography. We have to arrest him now. We have to effect the arrest. Brunton was arrested in his house and brought to the station. In the last 48 hours, I would have been lucky if I had 2 hours sleep. I'm thriving on adrenaline at this point. As I'm walking towards the interview room, I know that Brunton is waiting on the other side of the door. I didn't know what to expect, what personality I would see. Is he the husband and father, or is he Master Chef? He's got his head down and he's got his hands crossed on the table. And he's not looking at me. I said, we have evidence from your computers that you've been filming boys in the hockey arenas out in Peterborough. I'm reading off what his charges were, and he had no reaction. We have evidence that you're involved in a cannibal website. We have evidence, at least virtually, that you've admitted to killing somebody. You could see his whole demeanor change, like he was proud of it. He said that he had admitted to killing. He had admitted to eating human flesh, but it was all fantasy based, and that he'd never really done that. I didn't want to believe him, but I couldn't prove otherwise. It's extremely frustrating because we still don't have the answers that we're looking for. I had the officers come in and take him to his cell. I watched him walk out, and I still wondered, are we going to find anything in the home? The entire house was forensically examined. What was located was more evidence in relation to child pornography and child exploitation charges, but nothing in relation to the 3 missing men.
Learning that was hard. I was thinking to myself, well, now what? Like, where else do we go? Like, what else do we look at? How are we going to solve this?
65-year-old James Alex Brunton walked out of court today after being sentenced for making, possessing, and distributing child pornography.
I really have nothing to say. I'm very sorry for what happened to my wife and family.
Today, he was sentenced to time served plus 3 years probation. There was nothing that linked Brunton to the 3 missing men. Did I want there to be something? Absolutely. Did I want to find some closure for those families? Absolutely. But Brunton wasn't our guy. The case had taken a toll on me. Meanwhile, I had a daughter at home who was also needing her mother, and I wasn't there as much as I should have been. And that was pulling on me. It was just the best decision for us as a family, for me to retire from policing. I still go back to the village quite often. I still couldn't let go of the missing men. They continually haunted me. Wanted that closure for the community and for the families, and selfishly for myself as well. I'd been away from the police service for 2 years. I'm relaxing with Julia. We're watching some TV. I received a phone call from my boss from the time that I was investigating the missing men. He said, it's happened again.
Exactly. Another big game for the big dog. Yep, everybody's pleased. Power Box Cleopatra. Big jackpot starting at $1 million. Even better. They could be won instantly in the store. Play OLG's Power Box Cleopatra in store today for your chance to win big. Oh, oh my gosh, Josh, there's two men missing from the village, and it's identical to the disappearance of our first three missing. And I don't see anything. Probably start holding the disappearance of Andrew. It's been suspicious.
Swenson was last seen on April 14th, area of 4. Appearances following several unsolved missing persons cases going back to 2010.
I was concerned that there was someone out there slaughtering and killing people. Andrew Hinson was 6'4" and 230 pounds. If somebody like that can get taken, no one is really safe. Task force was being created. It felt like a second chance. For 3 years, it was hanging over our heads. So now we can actually finish what we started.
I wanted to go back, but I was now retired from the police service and I was working in another profession and my employer wouldn't let me go back. It was extremely disappointing, but when I was told that Dave Dickinson would be leading the case, I was extremely excited because I know how dedicated Dave is. And he has this ability to be able to think outside of the box and be creative in his investigations. And this is a case that definitely needed.
I had been in homicide for 5 years. And this was the first time that I was asked to oversee missing person investigation. I was starting fresh, reviewing missing person files. Salim and Andrew were both gay men. They were both middle-aged, and they both went missing from the village in Toronto, just like previous disappearances. Salim had no fixed address. He was kind of living on the street. So it was difficult to get started on Salim Essen. But Andrew Kinsman was last seen at his residence. So we needed to get there to search for anything that would help us understand where Andrew might have gone.
It was creepy entering the apartment, knowing that he's disappeared. Shelves were stocked. It didn't appear like he was planning on leaving anywhere. Did something happen here? Did something happen elsewhere? Walking to the very south of the apartment, I found his computer room. There was a box of discs against the south wall. Just above it was a calendar. It was on June. I look at the 26th, the day that Andrew Kinsman went missing. Right on it was 3 p.m. And then right below that was Bruce. We had to determine who this Bruce character was, and was he involved in the disappearance of Andrew Kinsman. There were 3 surveillance cameras in front of Andrew Kinsman's apartment. One was across the street facing his front door area, and the 2 others were just west of his apartment. I retrieved the video surveillance footage that the initial investigators had acquired, and the day that Andrew Kinsman went missing. I knew that 3 p.m. Andrew Kinsman was supposedly to meet a Bruce So I started viewing the video a little bit earlier, around 2:45, 3 p.m. passed.
Lúc mà lại nợ PR cho chồng cái hình của chồng là hình nào? Lúc đó chồng có đi chụp hình không? Vậy là phải lo đi chụp hình riêng. Tại vì lúc mà nó gửi cái thư tiếp theo là nó sẽ bắt upload cái hình PR. Chừng nào đâu? Tại vì bà Duyên bà có thư kêu gửi hình upload hình rồi. Thì chồng chắc cũng tuần sau rồi bắt upload hình đó.
In 10 kilometers, keep right onto Highway 407.
C was a red Dodge across the street. But then at 3:07 p.m., the individual leaves Andrew Kinsman's apartment. Andrew Kinsman was a large man. He was approximately 6'4", 6'3", and you can see that in the video. This man towered over the van. I believe that man was Andrew Kinsman. Off eastbound. He needed to know who was to drive that van. I took a still image to a Dodge dealership close to us to see if they recognized exactly what model it was. I spoke to the manager and he said 100% that's a 2004 25th anniversary edition Dodge Caravan. It blew my mind. I was ecstatic. We had the exact year, make, model, everything we needed to know about the van to now go search for an owner.
Requested driver records for
In 2 kilometers, keep right onto Highway 407 East. Stay in the middle 2 lanes and go past this exit. Use the right 2 lanes to keep right onto Highway 407 East. Keep right.
four Dodge Caravans in Ontario. I ended up with 6,181 results. We knew that Andrew Kinsman and Bruce on the calendar. So I did a control find and typed in the name Bruce. It limited that list of more than 6,000 down to 5 persons. I began looking into the background of each and every one of them. 4 of the 5, there was really nothing. But then I got to Bruce MacArthur. He was a 66-year-old male, and he recently had a pardon for a conviction that he received in 2003, where he assaulted a male with a pipe. And in the summer of 2016, he had been involved in a violent encounter with another man in the back of his 2004 Dodge Caravan. The same Dodge Caravan that we believe picked up Andrew Kinsman the last time he is seen. So I put surveillance on Bruce MacArthur to track his whereabouts. And I came into the office and I sat down with the team. Said, hey guys, I've came across this guy, Bruce MacArthur. Almost immediately, Josh began snapping his fingers.
And I said, I interviewed that guy back in 2013. Dave's head just kind of whipped around. I was like, what? And I said, yeah, he volunteered to help with the investigation. He interviewed the first 3 missing men. Arthur said that he had scanned it through a friend and he dated Majid. He was very forthcoming with this information, made eye contact with me the whole time, and there's absolutely no reason anything more to him trying to help out with the investigation.
Has it been Trade, the 49-year-old Andrew Kinsman for 25 days now. A 3-year-old Celine Essen hasn't been seen since April 15th. The gay community is on edge.
It's astounding that this is going on so it's solved. You know, it's unsettling. It's scary. You know, who's going to be next? We don't have any answers.
The last time 51 Division set up a task force was for this, Project Houston, disappearance of these 3 men from the village between 2010 and 2012. 6 years later, there is still no trace of them. It's reading in the paper every day about missing men. And all of these memories have just come right back and punched me in the face again. I was just praying that the team would have leads that we just didn't have before to be able to find out who was responsible before it happens again.
Valence, we learned that Bruce MacArthur was a landscaper. He attended a lot of addresses in Midtown Toronto, attended to high-end residents. He had set routines, set patterns. He would landscape the same properties on a Monday, a different property on Tuesday. He was separated from his wife. He had adult children and some grandchildren. To be honest, he was kind of boring. Many drives to and from work where I talk to myself thinking, are we sure? Are we on the right guy? Are we really thinking that this guy?
Tôi đang lái xe về nhà, tôi chưa về tại tôi thấy Thông nó gửi thì tôi gọi cho bà vậy thôi. Dắt tôi không? Dắt tôi đi, tôi giờ tôi về tôi nấu gì ăn hả? Tối nay bận. Tôi làm ở chỗ ở nhà luôn. Ok. Dạ. Ok. No. Where are you? My friend. Huh? At my friend. When will you be home? Um, 10 or something. Hello? Okay, just want to know when you want to be home. Food I bought for you and you don't eat. You keep going out. You keep going out, and the food I bought for you for the vegetarian still there. Nobody eat it. I'm going to eat it. No, they cannot last longer. It's like more than 10 days already. It's not been 10 days. Okay, I'll eat it though. I want to come over and eat. Make sure you can eat it. I don't know. It's not cannot last that long. Okay. I'm sure it's still be. It's fine. Bye. Cô rất là cô. Anh nó rất là cái con cho mình. Ủa, tôi bị take out ở ngoài. Chưa được cô một xíu đó. Rất nhẹ. Xong nó còn bị xíu đó. Cô cho mình. thì giá 30 đô. Cho thì mình chịu bây giờ phải thêm là lợi thêm cái gì thì cũng sống tâm thế, tâm giống như địa ngục, biết cái gì đâu chơi chơi tôi ghét tôi mà tôi chọn phải phải gì ơi
33 to 27 Maple Bush Avenue. In about 1.5 kilometers, keep right. At the light, use the left lane to turn onto Dixon Road. Then make a U-turn at Mart Grove Road. Stay in the left lane. At 2.8 kilometers, turn left onto St. Philip's Road.
I don't believe it. Ơi, bây giờ nữa
Camera ahead. Light, turn left. Light, turn left onto St. Philip's Road. Hundred meters. Turn left onto Weston Road. The next light, turn left. At the light, use the left lane to turn onto Weston Road. Turn left. .500 meters. Turn left onto Maple Bush Avenue. Stay in the middle lane.